Okay, let's go on a field trip, and I'm going to take you to a town called Waverly, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half from me. And I want to show you what happens after a major flood happens and how it changes your life. Now, you really want to consider this, especially if you're on a lower income. You know, you're elderly, you applied for government housing. You really should take a walk or a drive around your area and see what's going on there. So Waverly, Tennessee was hit pretty bad with a flood. A lot of money was sent into that city. Dolly Parton, Loretta Lynn, a lot of donations, a lot of churches, a lot of volunteering. They really went out of their way to help out in Waverly, Tennessee, and it was probably one of the better support systems when a area floods. And a lot of people feel it'll never happen to me. Part of prepping isn't just about putting some food away or some water and thinking you're okay. If you're living in an area that could flood and you've bought in all these preps and, you know, a year of food and you've done all this, then you're going to lose it all. You're going to lose it all in one night. Everything will be gone. You really have to consider where you live, especially if you're going to be prepping. Now, if you are in an area that may flood or something may go wrong, then your number one prep should be you need to get out of that area. And that's all there is to it. But a lot of money was poured into there. And some of these people that were living in government housing were given motels and, you know, for a very short period of time, not for very long. And you got to think, if you've got a bunch of houses that are government housing by the government and they don't build someplace else or they don't rebuild someplace else, well, then what do you got? You have all these people that are homeless and all these people that now have no place to live. Now, some people that own their own homes, they were given money to help, you know, redo the inside of their house. None of them had flood insurance. None of them would, because they didn't expect it. They really didn't. And a good thing to expect, to look for, is if you have any streams or anything around you. You may want to consider getting out of there and moving. But let me get into Waverly, Tennessee, and I'll take you on a tour and let you see firsthand instead of just hearing me talk and talk and talk. I'd much rather you see it because I think that would help you more to understand how dangerous it is for you if you're in an area like this.
Kids up, which was a few minutes later, the water was already coming up over the porch and into the house, probably about a foot of water. And even with, you know, a couple of feet of water, when it's raging, you can't maneuver in it. The only other option was going up on the roof to safety.
What are we looking at right now?
That's my truck and the neighbor's car, and my truck's going to hit this one house right here.
Okay, here we have a whole bunch of government housing, as you can see. Now, they're all vacant. Where did all these people go to live? I mean, who knows where they went to live? We don't know. You know, maybe they went into some type of motels, hotels, but all these buildings are going to have to be demolished, is what's going to have to happen with them. But all these people that were living in this government housing, and this is only one section, there's another section on the other side of this, where these people are now homeless or moved to a different city. The government didn't build more houses. They didn't say, hey, we need to move you. Basically, they just kicked them out. And they're all vacant. And all their stuff that was inside these buildings, because these buildings were underwater, all their stuff, their stoves, their fridges, their armchairs, everything was destroyed. And that's a sad fact. Let me show you the stream that this all happened from. Here you are. The river behind me has only got 2 inches of water in it. The houses you just seen is less than a stone throw away. So government housing went and spent all this money on building houses for the poor in an area that was going to be a flash flood. And like in another video, I mean, the stupidity is unbelievable. It really is. I mean, all those people that were on low incomes are now scrounging just to try and do what they need to do. Now, there are some houses that were given money if you owned a house to help you do some type of renovating. Some people did benefit. But when it comes down to the ones that are at the bottom, the super poor, no, they get it up the ass every time. And that's all there is to it. They just write them off. Eviction, get out, done, go find someplace else to live, whatever it is. But overall, this little stream turned into a flash flood. So what I'm telling you is, let's say you are applying for government housing, you should go down to the area that you're thinking about applying for, and you should scan and look for this. You see something like this, you shouldn't even apply there, because chances are, the way the weather's changing, you're going to end up with a flash flood. Now, a flash flood, I'm telling you, it takes less than seconds for, like, the banks of this would fill in no time. And, you know, it would go up 15, 20 feet in a matter of minutes. You don't have time to clear out your building, jump in your vehicle and leave. There just is no time. And if you're living in an area that has this beautiful stream going through and you're thinking, oh, look at that, that's so nice, it's right in my backyard, and you go and spend thousands of dollars on preps, you're going to lose them all just like that. A flood is the worst thing that you can have that would destroy your prepping. So when you're thinking about it, you have to look at where these little, this looks innocent sitting here right now, completely innocent. And yet this overflowed those houses that we just looked at right over their rooftops and went like 4 streets in. It's crazy how fast this went up and how many lives it destroyed, and this is a year later. All these houses are going to have to tore down, is what they're going to have to do. Will they build more government houses? Probably not for a few years, and if they do, who knows? People's lives were displaced, messed up. I mean, I don't know who was in charge with all that money, who got the money. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous. Every time I see a disaster or a flood or some type of disaster, it seems like we get a whole bunch of volunteers, Red Cross comes in, they're a bunch of crooks, but they're all we got, and the next thing you know it's like other people have got their hands in the candy jar, and the people that actually need it are not getting it. And that's what I can tell from disasters. So you don't want to put yourself in the position of a disaster if you don't have to. This may be pretty, but you want to do is you want to come down and visit it. You don't want to have to look at this go higher and higher and higher out your back window until finally it takes all your preps. So really think about that. This flood was a year ago. Is it going to happen again? Hell yeah, it's going to happen again. And like I said, those government housings, they should have had them ripped down by now, but they're going to have to rip them all that money that the government spent. You know, what was the point of that? Why would the government build homes in a flood area? Just stupid. And why does anybody want to build a house in a flood area? Again, just stupid. Whether it happens once every 20 years, once every 40 years, you're going to end up having to gut it and have to redo it. And you don't want to be doing that when you start getting 65, 70, 75. You're not making as much money as you used to. Now you're breaking even every month. You might have a little extra, depending on what you've done for retirement. But if a flood happens, especially when you start getting that age and you're living on a very basic income, it could basically take you out very quickly. Very quickly. And it's not like you can just jump on into the workforce at that age and do something. So pay attention, and really pay attention to what you're looking at. And just because all you see is a trickle of water doesn't mean that you're not going to get hit with a flash flood in a matter of minutes. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.